Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, June 6th. It's the first Saturday of June. And Shelly and I here at The Way of Truth, we started doing lunch with a life coach on first Saturdays at Oasis Coffee and Tea House in Silver City. And we maybe had a month or two of that before things got shut down. So we made a sharp pivot to webinar format last month. And Shelly hosted that one. That was Cultivating Ease. And Melanie, you were there for that one. And then
yes.
Michael couldn't make it to that one. And so we wound up doing that one again last night for the full moon. Because we've been doing full moon webinars together for over a year now. And as we were prepping, getting on here today, we both recognized that the workshop that we're doing today was the first one that we did together just a little over a year ago. So wow. Happy anniversary, Shelly.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with me for over a year, every full moon, seriously. And so much learning in that process. When you set yourself on a path, even if you don't know everything, right? But when you set yourself on a path and you have a commitment and, you're like, the full moon is every month, right? So if you make a commitment to do something that happens regularly, monthly or weekly or quarterly or whatever it is, and just make that commitment, keep showing up. And it's progress, not perfection, because certainly we have had our fill of technical difficulties and scrambling super last minute. And learning, oh no, we actually do need a little more time and preparation for these, learning and kind of finding our rhythm and the way we work together and the way we work with the community that's forming here. It's been a really, really thrilling process. And it feels like it's still progress, not perfection. We're still putting ourselves out there and experimenting and trying to create a more engaging experience. And so yeah, there's really exciting things coming.
There's the adapting that's going to make you
exactly. So I like this picture. It makes me hungry. Virtual lunch with a life coach, and I put it right next to this full strawberry moon because this is part 2 of our strawberry moon double feature. The full moon webinar and first Saturday bumped up against each other this month, and we went, okay, do we want to do them back to back? Let's do it. And so here we are. And it's inspiring some other things too. Yep, there we go. Strawberry Moon feature number 2. Focus on authenticity, seeing and living more of who you really are. Yeah. We're finding that kind of the old story, it has not been serving humanity for a long time, but we've been trying to squeeze ourselves into this box of what society says we're supposed to be and do and have, and it's antithetical to who we are, to who we truly are on the inside. We're loving people, and the old story doesn't fit anymore. And that's the real kind of overarching theme of the strawberry moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is like it's about belief systems. And now it's a full moon, it's a fire sign, it's about starting something, like putting something out there, even if you're not sure if it's ready. So it really is about starting something new, and progress, not perfection. And then the lunar eclipse is about things ending. So and that feels really, as we're kind of looking at what's happening on the world stage, the old belief systems are done. We're letting them go. We're, as a global culture, letting go of some of the restrictions and limitations of the old patriarchal white guy system, and not a moment too soon. But what that means is we're stepping into change, and so it's an important time to be opening to vision, opening to your highest calling for what God or the universe or source, or however you define the divine, is calling you to step into your next iteration to up level yourself, to upgrade and get yourself out there in service, even if it's not perfect yet, but getting yourself out there. And with that, anytime we're stepping into change, there's what comes naturally is resistance and uncertainty, which is what I think these regular virtual classes that we do really support people with. Really helps us when we can come together as a community and engage with one another, and zoom in and get clarity around some real foundational tools we can be using every day as we're out there figuring it out. So I love this topic. I think it's perfect. Focus on authenticity. So welcome everyone. Let's see. No, we're going to go ahead and move into our topic today. Yes, there we go. Focus on authenticity, seeing and living more of who you really are. You both know us. I'm Wendy. I created this thing called The Way of Truth. I'll be facilitator today. Super excited to be with you. And we have Shelly Chase, who is our writer. She's our life happiness coach. And she's my co-facilitator, going to be helping with slides today. We're going to be exploring several key points around this concept of authenticity and living a more authentic life. So what we're going to cover is, some points here. What is authenticity, and why do we struggle with being more authentic? What causes us to live our lives in inauthentic ways? There's some major influences at work here. We'll look at the difference between our public persona and our true character. What we can do to increase our willingness to be more authentic with others and in our daily lives. So we're good. I was going to talk about some of the rules of the road for webinars, but you're all sounding really good. If you notice that there's noise in your background, if you wouldn't mind putting yourself on mute, and then unmute yourself for the debrief questions and conversations and stuff, that would be great. All right. So let's begin our discovery. Let's start with the simple fact. We all struggle to be more authentic, whether we realize it or not. And this struggle comes from a deep desire we have to express ourselves more fully and have others do the same. But the reality we face instead is that it's often easier to remain and behave in less authentic ways rather than risk letting others see and experience who we really are. Our examination of authenticity must then begin with us looking at the reasons why people don't want others to see and experience who they really are. So now's a great time to pull out worksheet number 1. It's called Authentic Perspectives. And if you take a few moments to review the images on the worksheet, and then either circle or put a check mark next to the image that you think best represents why people struggle with being more authentic. And there's no wrong or right answer here. It's just, you know, whatever catches your eye. Trust your gut. And if you need a few examples to jumpstart your thinking, you might imagine the tape dispenser as people get stuck in the roles they play. Or the padlock, people feel insecure about expressing their true selves, especially their faults and failings. The robot, as people become robotic in living out their lives and lose their individuality in the process, and so on. So, so go ahead and take about a minute, and then we'll discuss. Ready, set, go.
Wendy, I didn't get the pictures didn't print out for me for worksheet 1. So it's a tape dispenser, a padlock, a robot. What other pictures are there?
There's a fish hook, there's scissors, there's a telephone, a windmill, a pretzel, a flower, a watch, hammer, heart,
Oh.
torch. I mean, there's a bunch of them.
Okay. I don't know why I didn't get it. Okay.
All right. So let's gather back. Who would be willing to share which image they selected and why they feel this image best represents the reason why people find it risky to express their true authentic selves? And like I said, there's no right or wrong, just what came up for you.
I know I got with a fish hook, too many people needing my time. So it's forced me to kind of stay in a neutral feeling, because to shift that quickly so many times, it's impossible. So.
Thank you. Michael, how about you? What'd you get?
Well, I actually got 2, and the first one I chose was the heart, because it's about what's inside you that may be afraid to come out, as I'm afraid of what people might think, what people might perceive, and so on and so forth. And then I also chose the telephone because I think a lot of what it means to help others live into their own authentic perspectives is having the ability to step back and really listen to the heart of what others are bringing into this moment and sharing with you.
Wow, that's really insightful, Michael. I like what you said about the, you know, the heart. It's like vulnerability, right? That's what we keep protected. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I I resonated toward the pretzel, just because it's like what makes it a pretzel is that it's all knotted up. And it's this very specific shape. So when we're being a pretzel and we're all knotted up and we're being a specific thing called a pretzel, where it's like if you unknotted, it's like an identity thing, right? So if the world says you're a pretzel, then you cannot unknot and show them that you're a different kind of pretzel, if that makes sense. Shelley, did you have anything?
Yeah, mine was instantly the robot. And
Excuse me.
is because as we were raised to be, you know, we go to public school and they teach us how we're supposed to be, and then we go to work and they tell us how we're supposed to be. And whenever we step outside of those lines is when we get pulled apart or whatever. So it's easier to be a robot and just fall in with the rest of them than to stand out being yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, all of these, right? There's, like I said, there's no right or wrong. It's really interesting. Um, just some, key points I'd like to make. It often feels like we can't truly be authentic because it means we risk having others judge us, or worse, reject us. I mean, I think deep down, the little child parts of us are, so desperate for for that assurance and approval that, it feels really risky to be authentic, to show a part of you that you're not hearing, from somebody else. So in the end, it just seems easier to be quiet, to try to fit in, to contort ourselves, to hide who we really are, rather than attempt to live more authentically around us. Now, still, we want to be more authentic. And at the same time, being more authentic seems very scary. So there's that kind of push-pull dynamic in there. If we want to live more authentically, then we must move past this fear. Now, luckily in community, that's easier to do. And our ability to move past this fear is a continual process. Like I said, progress, not perfection. It's not one or done. It's like working those muscles, getting a little better and better all the time. So yeah, not a one-time occurrence. So let's begin this process of becoming more authentic by taking an honest assessment of our hidden selves. Authenticity is often misunderstood because, well, admittedly, it's difficult to define. But more important, authenticity is misunderstood because we aren't always willing to take an honest look at our hidden selves. Now, a great metaphor for exploring the concept of authenticity can be found in the image of an iceberg, where the iceberg's tip can be seen above the water's surface, while the rest of the iceberg, the majority of it, lies hidden beneath the water's surface. People often go about life in a similar fashion, showing only a small part of their true identity and hiding everything else. To become more authentic will require us to make an effort at lowering our waterline and sharing more of who we really are. So let's pull out worksheet number 2, lowering the waterline. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to answer only the first question listed on the worksheet. So again, we're only answering the first question right now, but I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Question number 1, what's down below your waterline that you don't want to share with others? And this is personal. You are not going to be sharing this with us. This is just for you. So you won't need to reveal what you've written. You can be absolutely honest. What's down below your waterline that you don't want to share with others? And I will start the timer. Ready, set, go. All right, let's wrap it up in about 30 seconds. Find a nice closing point for yourself. All right, thank you. Let's come back. Now, just looking at what you've written, I'd like you to notice if you listed things that you think other people might look down on you for, such as failures and disappointments, guilt and shame, fears and insecurities, weaknesses and embarrassments, resentments, jealousies. Most of these are things that our culture has trained us to consider to be quote unquote bad, and it's understandable why we wouldn't want them revealed. But now I'd like you to look at the PowerPoint image of the iceberg again. And now notice that the iceberg's angled edges below the water surface aren't just dark. There are actually many edges that are in the light. And this is metaphoric for the positive things about us that are below our water lines. Great. And now I'd like you to answer the other two questions listed on the worksheet. Question 2, if you think about yourself more deeply, what positive traits can be found below your waterline? And question number 3, what do you think keeps these positive qualities from being revealed or expressed? And again, you will not need to share what you've written. This is just for you. So let's take just another 2 minutes, give you a minute for each of those questions. Ready, set, go. We've got about 30 seconds left. All right, let's come back. Thank you, everyone. And again, just looking at what you've written, people also become hesitant to share their positive traits, such as their hopes and dreams, their vision of what would make them truly happy, their accomplishments and future goals, what they love and appreciate, what excites them and gives them childlike curiosity, and their creative impulses. The reason people can be equally hesitant to share their positive qualities is because revealing our most hidden strengths, desires, and aspirations still makes us vulnerable. And vulnerability can be scary. These positive qualities can be judged critically by others, so there is risk associated with opening up to others, even in positive ways. So I'd like to open up for a brief discussion. And again, you don't have to share anything that you've written, but just maybe some insights. What do you think gets in the way of us sending a consistent personal message about who we really are?
I can only speak for myself, but oftentimes I find myself living into that negative authenticity when I really have a positive message to share, which can provide a sense of new hope and new light into the darkness of the lives of so many people. So it's finding ways to move beyond thinking what I've experienced as being a curse and living into the idea that my life is a true, one of a kind, and authentic blessing.
Yeah, yeah. About reframing, reframing, the interpretation of who you are, right? I know sometimes if you're, I'll just give a personal example. I grew up in a family full of boys, and a very patriarchal kind of blended family. And so there were very clear, like, these things, these are women's work. So that means in you, woman, girl, whatever, your job is da, 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 da. It was like so clear. And then there was the men's work or the boys' work. And so I felt instantly constrained that perhaps things that I wanted to do that might be more kind of on the masculine side of the spectrum they were discouraged for a time. But then like I noticed, oh, wait a minute, the story shifts when they see that I'm actually better at this work than the boys are. And then I wound up doing the girls' work and the boys' work, which is a totally different story. But I
can totally relate to that whole thing.
It's like, wait a minute. So this constraint, it works for you when it works for you. But then when you see how else I can, be helpful, it's like, story shifts a little bit. So what about you, Melanie? What do you think gets in the way of being?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit more comfortable sharing because I was, so what I know, I'm pretty authentic, inside and out. What I don't show is how much I care for just everyday people, not just my own family. Mm-hmm. And my ability, just the natural ability when people are near me, a lot of people seek me out and just like, I had a friend going through divorce. He didn't say anything. He just came in and cried. And so I hide that because I'm scared that I'll get overwhelmed. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I can't help every single person, and then it hurts me. I do feel hurt when I close myself off, you know, and I see them hurting. But then I know, like, I think I might not even make it through the day. Like like you want to just crawl to your car, you know. So I do hide that more out of self-protection. You know,
Right.
a lot of my just self-protection. Yeah.
Right. The fear that if that
Yeah.
that part of you is revealed, that you know, that you won't be able to handle it, right? You know, and that's
And I usually,
yeah.
I just try to like shut down and try to pretend I don't see it, and then maybe they won't feel me and come to me. You know, I have a very big shield. I've spent a lot of time building that.
Yeah, and you know, it's uh, having a shield is good. I mean, it's good to have, you know, clear boundaries, but for each one of us, we need to find where is that right balance, you know,
Yeah.
between, you know, giving, you know, open-heartedly, but also having a healthy boundary, so that because and Shelley, you might relate to this. You know, those of us who are, yeah, all of us probably, who are natural helpers, who are good listeners.
Yeah.
What we might attract, what, you know, the emotional vampires. Those are the people who will like suck that energy and that empathy
Oh, yeah.
and lean into you. And if you don't have good, healthy boundaries, then your battery's being drained, right? So, but yeah, so like, but finding that balance of being authentic, but also, you know, being clear. And that takes time. That just takes time and practice, because
Yeah, and it's hard.
yeah.
It is.
Absolutely. It takes it because we're not taught that. Some of these things that we're talking about here are just not taught in school. We're not taught how to set boundaries. We're not taught how to stretch in our authenticity. But perhaps that'll shift. Perhaps some of these things will be recognized as important things to be teaching. Being authentic, it means being willing to be openly. It means being willing to be open and honestly share all of ourselves with others, both good and bad. And I find that liberating. You know, when I can say without shame, you know what, I dropped the ball on that. I want to own and recognize that I said I was going to do something and I didn't. There are reasons, but you know, the point is I dropped the ball. And to be able to say that, to take responsibility without that shame, or without trying to cover it up and you know, blame somebody else for why that didn't get done. That, you know, it in some ways, I think it increases people's sense of safety with you when they recognize that you are consistent in telling, in being authentic, in being who you are and telling the truth. You know, if you look up the definition of authenticity in the dictionary, you would see the concept described as the quality of being genuine. So fundamentally, being more authentic is more fully expressing all of who you are. And this includes both the light and the dark. And when we're more authentic.
It's interesting to me.
Go ahead. Yeah. What's interesting to you?
Well, it's interesting when you hear what other people's fears are, and those aren't your fears. You know, it's just wild. You know, it's hard to describe because, like, your problem, I don't have that problem.
Right.
It's just interesting when you hear someone else's insecurities, and I don't know how to describe it. I love it. It's wild. Yeah.
Well, we're all experiencing this life from a slightly different vantage point. We have similarities. We have some similar things going on, but the way that perhaps they're expressing or manifesting is different. And so, yeah, when you hear
Yeah.
those examples from other people, it's like, oh, there's not just one way to think about this. There's not just one.
Yeah. So it's possible to improve, because you see someone who doesn't have that problem, and you're like, wow, that must be an amazing life. And you don't, and like, I wouldn't see it that way because it's just something that is not on my radar. So it's, nothing is impossible then, with everybody having different fears, and one person's not scared of at all of that, and the other person's like, no.
Right.
That's great. That's good.
It is. That's the value of having a coaching community, is
And talking.
will be other things reflected back to you that you had never thought of before. And we learn more about who we are as humans.
Yeah.
When I want to get back to some of these key points. When we're authentic, when we are more authentic, we also feel more vulnerable. There's no denying this, but still, isn't risking a little vulnerability worth the potential gain of becoming more confident in yourself, more willing to pursue your passions, more freedom from other people's opinions, more connected with yourself and others, more peace of mind, and more accepting and appreciative of your true self? If there is so much to gain by us being more authentic, what has conditioned us to live our lives in inauthentic ways? Let's look at some of the major influences that keep us from living more authentic lives. Why is it hard to be authentic? Well, to answer this question, let's explore the many influences in our lives that are not conducive to being truly authentic. Let's look at 3 of the most critical influences and how we end up living in inauthentic ways because of them. So I'd like you to pull out worksheet number 3, what causes us to be inauthentic? Now I'm gonna share a short mini lecture, short talk, and I'd like you to take some notes about what stands out for you. And these notes should include the key points you feel the most strongly about. And when I'm done with my short talk, I will ask you to teach back to the rest of the group what stood out for you during the mini lecture. So, what causes us to be inauthentic? There are 3 major influences that cause us to live our lives in inauthentic ways. Let's take a moment to look at each one. Number 1 is people. First, the people around us, our family and friends, don't teach us to be authentic. They do not tell us what being authentic means or why it's necessary. They want us to fit in so we can be accepted by society. Second, in most families, even the quote unquote normal functioning ones, family members play specific roles based on years of unconscious thoughts, feelings, and behaviors within the family unit. Third, given that we all need the love, approval, and acceptance of family members and friends, we let the expectations of others determine who we are, what we can do, and how we think we should be. The number 2 influence is culture. Our society, our schools, and the media, they don't really encourage us to spread our wings and express ourselves in a real way. So schools, in our educational systems, they don't encourage people to really think for themselves or express emotions. Instead, students are taught to follow rules, absorb information, and adhere to social norms. The media. Most of what the media feeds us is superficial and filled with negative messages about what's wrong with everything and everyone in the world. When you consider how many hours of television the average person watches each week, that's a lot of exposure to messages that tell us that success and happiness can only be achieved by embracing what's popular and fashionable. And the number 3 influence is ourselves. So finally, ourselves keep us from being authentic. Now, this might sound contradictory, but here's what's going on. Each of us has an internal critic constantly telling us that who we are isn't good enough. Whether you want to try something new or open up to someone else, your critic is right there to tell you not to do it. Your critic then quickly points out your weaknesses and reminds you of how you will likely fail and embarrass yourself if you take this course of action. Your critic isn't interested in you succeeding, but only in maintaining the status quo of where you're at. The critic pretends it is there to protect us, but its only desire is to keep us small. That's why we end up allowing our minds to believe what our critic says. Things like, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? Everyone will laugh at you if you do that. Remember the last time you tried something like that and what a mess you made? Why do you always say and do such stupid things? You really don't have what it takes. All these accusatory statements stymie you from being more authentic. And as we know, being critical of ourselves ultimately leads to doubt and self-imposed limitations. How can we ever become more authentic if we believe we are not good enough to begin with? We spend so much mental and emotional energy believing what our critic tells us about not measuring up. All right, thank you. That's the end of the mini lecture. So now I'll give you a few moments to solidify your notes, and then I'll ask for volunteers who would be willing to share what they just learned.
So, Wendy, were we supposed to put the notes in the numbers 1, 2, 3, or the notes that says in the bottom here?
Wherever you wrote them is fine.
The what?
Wherever you wrote them is fine. But yeah, we were working on worksheet number 3, and so
Right. No. I did that, but I didn't know because on worksheet 3 it has the
it's got 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, and then it says notes on the bottom. So I thought that's where we were supposed to put our notes.
And that's fine. Yeah. So that, influence number 1 was people. Influence number 2 was culture. Influence number 3 is our
okay.
And write your notes anywhere. Anywhere in there that works for you.
Yeah. One of the tips that I have that I'd like to offer, if you don't mind, is be a little bit more specific in the instructions, because I kind of got confused because I saw 1, 2, 3 and I was like, and then I hear notes, so I'm just automatically assume that that's the notes on the bottom is where you wanted to have me put my notes.
Yeah, that is definitely a note-taking place. because it says it right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Shelley, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just laughing because it's like a homework assignment or something. And
I was thinking that too.
I mean, you could turn it upside down and draw happy faces and squigglies all over it, and we would never know.
We would never know. Yeah, you're not turning it in for grading. It's only for you. It's really what is going on
Right.
for you.
That is
But
so
I mean,
sweet.
like for me, I'm trying to, take this seriously because as I saw in this this experience, it's normally a charge for this. So I'm trying to be as authentic as I can, and I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of it with what's being offered to me.
Right. So, yeah, if you took notes, then you're getting out of it what you need to get out of it, and
Yeah.
it really does not matter.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It's where you put them. Thank you, though. So, something that I wanted to, I know I'm the one who led the little talk, but the part about status quo, your critic wants you to maintain the status quo, and that there is a physiological component to that. Our bodies want to regulate and keep everything in homeostasis. So if your heart rate rises, your body's, automatically jumps in to get it back down to where it was. So sometimes this resistance, the inner critic is that voice that says, "Oh, you're doing something different," right? It's not a part of us that we need to make wrong or bad. It's part of our humanity, I think, part of our body that is like, oh, warning, we're off our normal parameters here. And what we need to remind our body and that inner critic is, it's actually our job to grow. It's actually our job to expand and try new things and develop new muscles. So when you start to feel that resistance or that, that discomfort because you're trying something new, you're speaking something out loud that maybe you haven't done often or in front of too many people, if you feel that resistance, if you hear that inner critic, no, it's just your body recognizes that you're stretching. And when I was a dance teacher, you would feel that. You would feel that in your body. Oh, I'm stretching over my leg here. I'm going farther than I have before. It feels, it has that stretching feeling. It's not quite pain, but it's like, it is uncomfortable. And what I would tell students at that point is to breathe. Breathe and send oxygen to that muscle. Send it a little message to relax. Give yourself permission to relax that muscle and breathe deeply as you slowly extend your stretch. And I think it's sort of the same thing when we're doing this, when we're stretching into being more authentic. So remembering to breathe and remembering to tell your body to relax will help you. What are some of the other things that came up as you were taking notes?
One of the things that I
Is
discovered.
a question from?
It's for everyone. Yeah. So, but yeah, Michael, you were starting to talk, so let's hear you first.
Yeah, so one of the things that I had discovered was that not just that, I'm my own internal critic when it comes to the major influences of being inauthentic, but I've struggled with the notion of the many, many times that I've listened to the critics outside of myself and how those critics, those external critics have affected my ability to be authentic, which often leaves me stuck as being inauthentic. So making that move from inauthentic to authentic self has definitely been a hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think, yeah. So you're speaking about the influence of people and culture, those people
Yeah.
outside of you that were
Mhm.
critical. And especially when we're younger, we tend to internalize those critical messages and repeat them. And so then, so that's what grows the inner critic inside of ourselves when we take in those critical messages and internalize them. How
I
about you?
know for me, oh, sorry.
I was about to ask. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. What really stuck out for me is the cultural,
Mm,
um, the cultural stuff, because, as a woman, especially a Southern woman, you know, it, it's always, don't be ugly, don't show too much emotions, be strong a little bit, but not too strong.
mm,
And then, so that's from Southern culture. And then just in culture also for women, again, don't get angry, hide your strategies, keep smiling, don't be too aggressive, um, shouldn't reach too high. Um, Even on my own team, in my experience, have said, be softer, maybe wear less black, maybe a lighter color nail polish, maybe have a more, you know, softer approach. That is like, that gets drilled into your head like so much as a Southern woman and a businesswoman.
mm-hmm.
When your own team is holding you back, that's frustrating and hard to be your authentic self under those types of pressures.
That is wow, because you don't ever hear anybody telling men, don't wear a black suit. That's too dark.
Yeah.
Could you
Oh
lighten
yeah.
the nail polish, Fred? You
Yeah.
don't hear that.
You don't. Yeah. You don't hear other men telling other men to smile.
Oh yeah.
Or you'd be so much prettier if you smiled. You would be stunned how often that happens. It probably happened to you too.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
be in the grocery, and a man will come up and say, smile, you'd be so much prettier. And I'm like trying to get my chores done, like run errands. You want to bite him.
Yeah.
It's like, I won't smile, but I'll show you my teeth.
My authentic self would say things that that might cause rumors about my temperament.
Oh yes. Oh yes, absolutely. But it's like I said, and it's from other women too. It's not just men. That's why it's so ingrained in our culture,
Yeah.
because my girlfriends would be thinking that was helpful advice with their whole hearts, saying, this is what you should do, and me going, I don't want to do this,
Right.
But then I would go to the nail salon and pick a softer color on my nails,
Right.
you know.
You made the
I made a conscious effort. Yeah, I saw myself making a conscious effort not to wear so much dark, colors. Put a little bit of, softer colors. So I did it, even though I didn't want to. I did it anyway.
Yeah, that's how we contort ourselves and become chameleons and put out the persona, which we're going to talk about in a second. The that says this is who I am, which is a lie. It's not who we are.
No. Yeah.
But that we feel a lot of pressure from these major influences of people, culture, and ourselves.
And it's very real. And this is from people who love you, who are afraid for you, or who are genuinely feel like they're helping you.
Yeah.
That's how ingrained this is.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wild.
Thank you all for your shares. Our ability to be ourselves and live more authentic lives is directly related to our awareness of when and how we're being inauthentic. So let's do an activity that can help us see another influence that keeps us from stepping into our own authenticity. Let's pull out worksheet number 4. You should.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to make a list of the things other people have said that you should be doing, saying, or being in your lives. Melanie, you just gave some powerful examples. You should wear lighter colors. You should smile more. You should wear a lighter nail polish. Other examples, you should get more sleep. You should eat healthier. You should spend less time watching television. You should go to college. Here's my favorite. What's this life coaching thing? You should go get a job at Walmart. Somebody actually said that to me. Because that's safe, right? Yeah. So Michael, just for clarity, on the worksheet in that box up there.
I got it.
Okay, cool. So we're I think let's
This one's pretty self-explanatory for me.
Okay, so we're just going to work on that part right now, and then we're going to answer those questions on the bottom later. So let me give you just about a minute or two to come up with your lists, your you should list. Ready, set, go. And we got about 30 seconds. All right, let's come back. And who'd be willing to share some of the should statements you came up with?
I feel like I've said enough on that.
Yeah, you did. You gave us a lot of examples. Shelley or Michael, do you have any should statements?
From what I've heard from others, you should get a master's degree, you should be confident, you should worry less, you should be less anxious, you should have rational thoughts, and you should hide less.
How about you, Shelley? Any shoulds?
I have spent a lot of time trying to get away from the shoulds, so I am a big, protester against the shoulds. But one that I have for myself is that I should be more sensitive to other people's feelings in the way that I phrase my speech. I think that that's something that I could work on. But most of the time, if other people tell me I should do something, I have to force myself not to do the opposite just to spite them.
I love that.
Wonderful. So let's all just take a moment to review your lists and circle the top 2 should statements that have had the greatest influence on you personally. And then, yeah, how are these these top 2, not all of them, but how are these top 2 should statements, how have they impacted your life? Maybe they're not impacting your life anymore because, you came to an awareness that that is someone else's opinion and it doesn't belong to you. Or maybe it's a should statement that has been a powerful influence on your life. And, so yeah, just opening up just for a little more discussion. How have these top 2 should statements impacted your life?
Well, for me, I did go to modeling school and I was a model. So that voice in my head to not let myself go.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time working out, hating parts of my body. I feel a lot of pressure to stay pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And also where I am, I have a deep voice, I have a strong personality, I'm protective and defensive and, a fighter by nature. Just so the staying soft and maintaining a certain level of beauty standard that's expected even from my close friends. Because I get statements all the time saying, "Oh, you still have your beautiful model looks," and that is, I hate when they say stuff like that because it just makes me feel that much more pressure to, do the peels on my face and then and the masks and all the things that I do to try to stay pretty.
Mm-hmm.
That is that hurts.
Yeah. Well, and it's a powerful insight. I mean, that there are so many people who also feel that pressure, right? That, and women, particularly, yeah, for some, yeah, for a lot of women, beauty has equaled power because it's been like the, how they could get in the door, right?
And success.
Yeah.
And I remember one specific time, I have 2 mother-in-laws because my first husband passed away, and you never lose your families. They just bring them all with you. And I remember one time I was going to my sister-in-law, her daughter's, one of her birthday parties. And I was going into a group of women where at that point I really hadn't accomplished much personally in my life. And so I was telling my mother-in-law, what am I going to say to these women? These are, and I was young, and I don't have anything to talk about. And she said, it doesn't matter because you're the most beautiful girl in the room and they want to be you anyway. And the funny thing is that we were all joking about weight and everything. And I had mentioned, I was like, well, I have a great tip for losing weight. The entire room stops. And these are business women. And I said, I just have a very big husband. And my first husband was like 6'7" and 315 pounds. So I was very small next to him. But it was amazing to me how all the conversation stopped and everyone was looking at me. And I was just making a joke. That I'll never forget that day. That day has stayed with me a long time. My mother, like I said, my mother-in-law's like, it doesn't matter. You're the most beautiful one there, and that makes you the best, regardless of all of their accomplishments. You know, that I perceive were better.
Right.
And that hurts.
And that's culture. That is the major culture. I wanted to welcome Holly. I don't know how long you've been here, Holly, but I just noticed you were here, and I toggled you so you can talk.
Oh.
I'm so happy that you were able to join us.
Yeah, hey there. You guys all sound fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to hear your voice. So
can I add one in here then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I like the, it's Melanie. Is it Melanie?
Yes, Pam.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is a thing that where I will try to make myself smaller because other people want to be brighter, you know. And man, I tell you, it's like I should be smaller. I should be, and I'm talking about my personality, I should just be less than, because it upsets other people when, and one of the things that I'm really working on right now is how much competition drives everything in this country.
Oh yeah.
Being the,
oh my God,
being the prettiest or whatever that is. So if your conflict style is being competitive, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. So when I'm around other people and I'm not competing, but just if I'm in an area where I just sort of naturally excel, for lack of a better word, you know, it's something that I'm really interested in, really enthusiastic. That's one of the things I'll just be, well, you know, you say it would be, you shouldn't be so big. You should just be smaller and say less and, you know, let other people, because otherwise if they'll tell me, sit down and be quiet. No,
wow.
now, but
That's
there you go.
true,
Oh, and then the other thing is that with physically, if where depending upon where I am with my weight, I will actually, that I'll think that I should be thinner. And the reason that I should be thinner is because of that, like just what Melanie was saying about that her mother-in-law had said to her. It's like, well, you know, if you're the best looking, the thinnest person in the room with a bunch of other women, you're the winner anyway. So I will then, if I don't succeed in something that I want to succeed in, I actually punish myself and think if I was thinner, if I was prettier, then I would be able to accomplish more. And it's crazy. And I've only really heard that I say that to myself probably in the last 6 months. So that's it for me.
Yes. And pretty privilege is a thing, and I accept that. But it also has a very painful cost that comes with it. Yeah. Because and throughout my career, sexual harassment, innuendos, or people just assuming, you know, my accomplishments aren't worthy because, you know, clearly how much work could she have possibly done? Like, I've even had people assume that I come home and after working, even at the Adobe restaurant, helping out my family, people assume that I go home and take bubble baths and have this very easy life. Yeah. Just because of how I look, which I find fascinating and wild and weird all at the same time, because it's like, no, I have a house to clean, clothes to wash, kids to look after, grandkids to watch. I haven't had a bubble bath in 15 years. Like, I don't know. You know, but that's what people think, that I have a very easy life just because of how I look. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I wasn't saying anything
no.
related to what you said.
Oh, no, darling.
Ladies, thank you both. I want to make sure we hear from Michael and Shelley if they had anything. How have your should statements been impacting your life, Michael?
All I can say is they've been quite the Debbie Downers, and I want to get rid of them.
All right. Well put.
I mean, you can't get any more straightforward than that. It's like, I mean, I could go into detail, but we'd be here all day for that. I should just write about them.
Yeah, yeah. Or schedule a call with me. You can tell me all about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your shares. So let's take a minute or two to answer the questions listed at the bottom of the worksheet. And this is, Holly, it's worksheet number 4. And I'll just, I'll set the timer for 2 minutes. So we have like a minute for each of those questions. Ready, set, go. All right, about 30 seconds. Start wrapping up. All right, thank you, everyone. So in closing for this section, I just want to make a few key points. When others try to change us, this reinforces our feelings of inadequacy. When we feel inadequate, we aren't going to try to be more authentic. We're going to try to fit in, to get along. The influences of people and society can make it difficult for us to do and say what is true for us. Even our own personal issues can stop us from being, doing, and saying what is true. If we want to live more authentically, we have to first become aware of this and take full responsibility for the influence of other people, culture, and even our own personal view of ourselves. If we feel like we aren't as good as others, we create a public persona that we believe will help us make it in life. The persona is yet another thing that gets in the way of us expressing who we really are. And we'll explore the difference between our true self and the facade we put on in front of others in just a moment. But first, I just want to make you aware of some very special events we have coming up. And as I'm sure you all know, you all participate in this actually. You're part of the Freedom membership. So, so that's what that is. And if you have a friend that you sent this replay to and they're watching this slide and they want to engage in this free membership, then the link at the bottom is where they can go to sign up to receive all of those valuable life coaching processes and supports for free. Pretty good deal. And yes, this is very exciting. This is very, very exciting. So Saturday, June 20th is the summer solstice. And the summer solstice is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And it is traditionally a really powerful time to create a vision board or to do some vision boarding. So what I'd like you to do is just write down the dates and the links. If you go to that link for the virtual vision board party, you're going to see it. It's a really cool setup. You have options. It's all free, but there are 3 different events you could do, and they complement each other. You don't have to do any of them. You don't have to do all 3. You could do 1 or 2. Doesn't matter which ones. They're all really good, and they all work together. But that day, I am stretching, Shelley is stretching to offer 3 events around the virtual vision board party. So write down that link and check it out when we're done here. And then the very next day, June 21st, is the new moon in Cancer. And we traditionally have our women's group meet that night and do some meditation. It's like a globally synchronized meditation. There are sister circles happening all over the world at the same time, meditating on the same theme. And so we're shifting the global consciousness each month on the new moon. So go ahead and write that link down too and check that out. It's such a powerful, topic, forgiveness, that I did not want the men to be left out, particularly since the 21st is also Father's Day. And I'll say personally, I have fathers and ex-stepfathers in my life that I've had to do some major forgiveness work around, and I don't think I'm the only person. So we are going to have another circle that's open to both men and women on Father's Day. So it's a little bit earlier than that sister circle in the evening there. So if you want to check that out, go to that link. And all of these events are free. It just came to me so clearly. This is not the time to be pitching a program or trying to get someone into a membership or a paid coaching relationship. Not right now. Now is the time to be of service and to gather community and build that safety and trust so that we can figure out what is the next step for you. But in the meantime, the membership and the events that we're doing is exactly what feels authentic to us right now at the Way of Truth. So I just wanted to share those with you. And so thank you for writing down those dates. And now let's get back to our training. Persona versus character. We have all invented phony ways of being and acting in life as a means of surviving and getting by. We've created a public persona to cover up what we don't want people to see, just like makeup hides a blemish. The problem with this is that it's difficult to be authentic when we are at the same time pretending to be someone we're not. So I'd like us to pull out worksheet number 5, persona versus character. And again, I'm going to be giving that a little mini lecture. And again, ask you to take notes on the worksheet. So does this worksheet make sense to everyone? There's, a place to talk about character. There's a place to write about persona, and then, other notes at the bottom. So lots and lots of space to take notes or make doodles or use this worksheet in a way that will support you. All right. Yeah, these notes you want to make sure that you write down key points that you hear that you feel strongly about. And when I'm done with my short lecture, again, I will ask you to teach back to the rest of the group what stood out for you from your notes. All right, here we go. Persona versus character. It is helpful to keep in mind what being authentic looks like compared to the public persona we project. The conceptual model on the PowerPoint slide helps to illustrate the difference. In this model, character is defined as the essence of who we are. Persona is defined as the external personality we have created. The circle on the left represents those times when we let our persona be primary and our character secondary. The problem with this is that we restrict what can enter into us and what can be expressed by us. This inevitably leads to stagnation in our personal growth and development. It also means that we are spending more energy protecting ourselves from external stressors, internal fears, perceived limitations, and personal inadequacies. The circle on the right represents those times when we let our character be primary and our persona be secondary. When we allow our character to be primary and our persona to be secondary, we allow more to enter into us and more to be expressed by us. This means we are spending more energy living from an authentic place of potential and possibility. There's nothing to protect, so everything contributes to personal growth and development. All right, thank you so much. Now I'll give you a few moments to solidify your notes and then ask for volunteers who'd be willing to share what stood out for them in the lecture.
I have a quick question, Wendy. When you said in the first circle model, besides personal inadequacies, what was this thing that you said before that? Because I missed that actually.
Perceived limitations.
I've seen limitations.
No, perceived.
Perceived. Okay.
Perceived limitations.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem. All right, who would like to share what stood out for you?
I don't know. I might be repeating myself. I'm not sure. But I know a lot of times where I let my persona get bigger than my character is like in work and career, where I project this, everything's under control, my day's going great, my life is perfect, I've got it all under control. Mm-hmm. That is what I absolutely try to portray in a business environment. And even though my insides could be screaming bloody murder at me, you know, because of the personal things going on or anything else, I very much do that. And then when I let my character, my true self, is when I see someone who is needing help desperately, and then all pretense drops, and it's like, here's what this is what I think you should do, and I'll stop everything, and you know, so it's pretty black and white, yeah. Or I'll just, and I do have, you know, I do speak with strong language, And that would be a time when it's like, oh, hell no. You know, like, this is what you need to do. Like, all pretense is dropped.
Right.
But that's when I can really show my character less than the persona that I try to project and impersonate like a business environment. You know, my need to help,
Right.
you know, will drop that persona quickly if I see it necessary.
Well, yeah. So it sounds like that's a core value for you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when those situation comes up, it supersedes what you're trying to accomplish by projecting the persona, the core
Yeah.
value.
And it's drastic. So if there was like a colleague and for example, my daughter's sister-in-law is in trouble, and I'm trying to help her navigate safely through these waters, and it's if a colleague saw that, I wouldn't even perceive them, because I would be like, all right, you have to have a plan, this is what you do, you know. Yeah. And then it's like, fuck him, like, you know? Yeah, so yeah, that's definitely me.
Thank you. Michael, Holly, what stood out for you in your notes?
Oh, this is Holly. Well, one represents joy for me, and the other one represents pure sorrow and hell.
Mm.
Living my life from the inside out. That's the persona is very little. I'm paying attention to how I feel. I'm living my life from thinking about me, how I feel, not from fear, but just that genuine thing and living out. When I am living from the outside in, it's none of it's coming from a sense of being real anyway. It's just all acting. So yeah, I wrote horrible. You know, it's just horrible. It's
Is that
like
at home as well, or just outside?
well, this is just it's just I'm not even thinking about it in any circumstance, because whatever I do it across the board. It's if I'm myself when I am by myself, right? When I am in a room by myself doing what I'm doing, I don't even think about it. But it's always gets generated by other people, and whether I trust the other person. And I'm at the point now where it's like, look, I can't keep living that way as if that it's important that other people accept me, that I'm only going to be authentic and be living my true character if they're going to accept me. And it's like bullshit. I have to live from there regardless of what is going on, period.
I want to really acknowledge Holly. Holly and I have known each other for years, and she is diligent in doing her work. And you know, I have seen how you have grown, how you have developed these muscles that allow you to operate from that essence, from the true character of who you are. So I wanted to acknowledge that, Holly, you're a
Yeah, that's a passionate personal statement right there. I can hear it.
Michael, how about you?
I think for me, it's just finding myself that I'm stuck living into my false self,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling as though I have to often wear a mask or be in this persona that most of the time I'm not happy with, and I don't let people in because I'm afraid of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid of people not liking me. I'm afraid of, you know, pushing people away rather than pushing people towards me. So I think I'm stuck where my persona is more upfront than my character actually is. And it's something that I've struggled with for a long time. And I'm slowly transitioning into moving my persona aside and living into my authentic character.
Thank you. And it's about progress, not perfection. We're working new muscles. So thank you, everyone. So now that we are aware of the difference between our public persona and our true character, let's identify more clearly what our public persona looks like and what we are trying to hide behind it. So speaking of masks, you just transitioned us beautifully, Michael. Having a persona is a survival technique. It's what we want to be known as instead of who we really are. And it's our ego's attempt to avoid criticism or rejection. At its best, a persona can be the good impression we wish to make or present to others. At its worst, it can be mistaken for our true nature. Sometimes we end up believing we are our persona, which makes it difficult, if not impossible, for us to be authentic. So let's take a moment now to read over the directions on the worksheet. Go ahead and pull out worksheet number 6, the mask I wear. And take a few moments now to read over the directions on the worksheet and to answer the 2 questions listed. And I will give you 3 minutes to complete this activity, starting the timer now. We've got about 30 seconds left on the clock. Thank you. Let's come back together now. Acknowledging the existence of your public persona and then recognizing the truth that persona is trying to hide from us can be liberating, and it can give you permission to be more real. The more we operate from our public persona, the more we train ourselves to believe there is something wrong with us and that we have to hide it from others. Usually, we have to confront our public persona in a more authentic way so that we can move beyond its limits and the insecurity it creates in us. As you become more aware of your public persona and are able to recognize it without judgment, you can have compassion for yourself and begin to live, speak, and act more authentically. The concept of authenticity we have been exploring in our workshop today may be simple to understand theoretically, but to integrate it into our lives and practice it on a regular basis will take awareness and deliberate effort. Let's begin our exploration of authenticity. Let's bring it to this exploration of authenticity to a close by taking a few moments to identify how we can use what we've learned today to become more real in our lives. Being authentic can be hard, but as you acknowledge this challenge and work to overcome it, you can begin to reveal more of who you truly are to yourself and to the world. Please pull out worksheet number 7, Becoming More Real. And once you've got that out, complete the statements listed on the worksheet. Remember to be as honest and open as you can in completing the statements listed. I'm going to give you 5 minutes for this activity, starting the timer now.
Hey, Wendy,
Mm-hmm.
question number 3. It says, I give away my own authenticity. Does that mean I reveal it, or does that mean I hand it over?
You know, I was interpreting it as handed over. That's how I was interpreting it, but you could interpret it the other way too. And both would be revealing. All right, 30 seconds to wrap up.
Wendy, I'm going to have to go. I'm just like out of energy at this point.
All right, yeah, we were just going to wrap up. We were just going to share what came up.
Oh, okay. Nope, I can do that. I can do that.
Awesome. Let's, yeah, time's up. Thank you all. So who would be willing to share their insights with the rest of the group? And feel free just to single out and share a particular response. You don't have to share your entire worksheet. Who'd like to share?
I think for me, when I feel least authentic when I find myself wearing a mask that's difficult to remove. And I often find that I have to put on a happy face when on the inside I'm completely miserable. And then I find a way to escape, which blocks those from knowing my true self, meaning knowing what I'm thinking, feeling, and experiencing in a given moment.
Thank you. It's a powerful insight for you, because you can't shift what you can't acknowledge. So just even writing that down and affirming that you acknowledge that pattern can support you to shift it.
I really like that, Michael, the way you describe a mask that's difficult to remove. That is something deep to think about. I like that a lot.
Thank you, Shelley.
I feel my most authentic when I am living my mission, vision, and purpose. And so that's why it's like they say, when you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I feel like I could just be doing this stuff 24 hours a day, and I would never get tired of it. And then I would never have time to be inauthentic.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. You'd be so busy living your purpose and shining your authentic light, there wouldn't be any time for a mask. I love it. Holly or Melanie, anything you'd like to share in closing?
I've just discovered through writing all this, I am going to stop allowing myself to be put into situations I don't want to be in. Because that's when I really feel the most inauthentic. When I'm pressured into doing something I don't want to.
Yes.
I'm going to stop.
Yes. Yes, I am behind you 100%.
Oh, that's awesome. I just think Shelley's always so funny, because of course she would come at this absolutely positive. I give away my own authenticity. Shelley, you're great. You're great. But I started thinking about that, because I thought, yeah, I would look at that first as saying I give away my own authenticity, and I would come at it from, the negative point of that I give away my true self. Like I sacrifice myself. I'd put sacrifice in there. So then I thought, well, then the opposite way. And what I wrote was, when I choose my own authenticity, and I do that when I'm aware and I make a choice. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be fearful about the situation of repercussions or whatever, but it's a choice I make. And then I feel frightened, maybe for a little bit, because I don't know what's going to happen, but I definitely am more confident. The more I do this, the more I choose authenticity and and make the choice for myself, it's like it's a spiral out of to me, it's depression. So there you go.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm just going to close with some final points. Becoming more authentic is not so much about what we know, but what we do. Mother Teresa once said, honesty and transparency make you vulnerable. Be honest and transparent anyway. Or as author and speaker John Mason has so eloquently said, you were born an original. Don't die a copy. As you go out and face the world, remember how liberating it can be for you and those around you when you have the courage to be yourself and go for what you want in life. It takes courage to live life with a real sense of honesty and genuineness. And this is about your life, about you being real. It requires courage and focus. So that's it for today. I want to thank you all for coming out and
Real quick.
us. What's that?
Wendy, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I need to Michael. Michael, are you still here? Is Michael still here or is he gone?
We're all still here.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, Michael. I was just thinking, your voice sounds so sad and in pain. And if that's true, I hope you talk to somebody about that. Because I'm
Thank
worried
you.
for you. Okay?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome, darling. Just be safe. And if you need to talk to someone, reach out.
You've got 2 life coaches right here at your beck and call, Michael, anytime.
Yeah, thank you. My mom's just recovering from mastectomy with reconstruction, so it's been kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot going on.
Well, that's totally understandable. I just got worried for you. I was just hearing that in your voice and just got a little bit worried.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Look at how much
You're
love
welcome.
and support there is in this room. Oh my goodness. Yay.
Oh, I know.
Group hug. Big virtual group hug.
Yeah. Okay.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you all for coming out for virtual lunch with a life coach. I hope you found this information valuable. And remember, yes, you have 2 life coaches here, and you know how that free membership works. So just get in touch, and be sure to check out those links, those dates, and those links for the virtual events coming up later this month. So love you all.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your weekend and day. Mwah! Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Kelly, thank
Guys. Oh, you're welcome. Bye, guys.